Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today I shall be talking about the game Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is a roguelike deck building game developed and published by Megacrit, and it was released in January 2019. If I could just change the subject ever so briefly, dear viewers, could I please ask you to consider liking the video, perhaps subscribing to this here channel, and perhaps leave a comment with your own thoughts on the game, or even similar games that you have enjoyed. Slay the Spire has blazed quite the trail into the minds of gamers far and wide, with its appealing gameplay, deck building, and roguelike experiences. To be totally honest, I wasn't ever quite sure about whether it would be a game this old dwarf might be interested in. Instead, left to sail on the peripherals of my gaming verse. But I recently saw it on quite a tantalising sale price, so I decided to dive in and give it a go, and I'm glad I did, dear viewers. Slay the Spire is a game where you embark on a run by selecting from a number of heroes, each with their own abilities or cards that you'll add to, upgrade, and even remove from as you progress through a run. You will use your deck to confront and defeat numerous baddies while acquiring new cards and other special items that will assist you in your quest to slay the Spire. The game has a hand-drawn two-dimensional aesthetic, which is quite fantastical and eclectic. If I'm honest, I'm not immensely drawn to the art style, but I can still appreciate the wonderful world of beasties and backgrounds that is on display here. As you might expect, the game isn't too demanding on the old machine down here in the ancient hold, so I imagine it can run on most setups, and I can see it currently on the Android Play Store, so it can probably be played on almost anything. This is great for the developers as it gives a broad range of appeal, though it sounds like the mobile version perhaps need a little better UI optimization. There are no voice characters in the game also, and only a minimal amount of text, which I imagine makes it even easier to run on handheld devices. Anyway, enough about mobiles, this is a PC channel. So yes, there isn't much in the way of dialogue. There is no standoff of words as you duel your opponents, or wayward quips as you lay the final blow. When you begin the game and embark on your first run, you can only select from one hero, but as you play you unlock the other three. Your decision on which character to take is most impactful on your run. Each hero has their own set of cards unique to them and their particular playstyle. One hero channels special orbs to deal damage and defend themselves, while another makes use of poisons and discarding cards for different bonuses. The other two are just as unique. Along with the cards available to each hero, they will start with a different artifact. These are special items which you can collect more of as you progress, that have a special ongoing effects on gameplay. One might heal you every time you finish a battle, another might allow you to draw more cards each turn, and many other special things. There are also potions you can pick up that are single-use items that will help you out in combat. These are things like adding a good amount of block, doing damage to all enemies, or even allowing you to evade a combat against a particularly nasty foe. Once you've selected your hero, you'll be given their standard set of basic cards before you embark on a run through the Spire. There is a map which lays out several routes from which you can choose from, allowing you to have some sway on what you will encounter. The routes consist of a chain of encounters, all leading upwards to the final boss of the level. Each round you will move up one and begin the next encounter. As I stated before, not every encounter is straight up combat, but the majority of them are. Before I do anything else, it is probably most important to actually explain the combat, and thus the main thrust of the gameplay. When you enter a combat encounter, the battle shall begin. Your hero shall be shown on the left and all of your opponents will be shown on the right, with the screen displaying everyone's HP, or health. From here you shall take turns using abilities and attacking. You will always go first. Each turn you will draw 5 cards from your deck. They can do any number of things but come under several categories, like attacks, skills and powers. Attacks will do some kind of damage to the enemy, skills will be something like gaining armor or discarding cards for a buff, while powers tend to be ongoing effects, like dealing extra damage each time you are attacked. The number of cards you can play each turn depends on how much energy you have and how much energy each card costs. By default your hero will begin with 3 energy, but there are several ways to increase this. When dealing any kind of damage to the enemy, the stated damage on the card will say how much health will be knocked off of their HP. This can be affected by different conditions you can inflict on the enemy and also how much block they have. Block is essentially a shield that you must first fully deplete before you can actually do any damage to their actual health bar. Both you and the baddies are able to gain block, but most of the time it will only last one round. So, each round consists of you spending energy on cards to attack, build up block, and power yourself up or your opponent down. When you're out of energy, all used cards and any remaining in your hand will be put into the discard pile. The enemy will then perform any attacks or abilities before it's back to your turn, where you'll draw another 5 cards from your deck. And that is it. That is how combat and thus most of the game works. It is very simple and straightforward to get into. I think this is really good as it sets the entry bar quite low, allowing for a wide spectrum of gamers to play and enjoy the game. Beyond this simplicity though is actually a lot of strategy and complexity. As you play through, you unlock new cards which can be added to your deck, displaying certain synergies with other cards. This allows you to somewhat cater your deck to make use of these synergies. For example, one of the heroes makes use of poison cards, which do damage to your opponents every turn. Whenever possible, you might want to acquire these cards so that your deck is focused on this specific synergy, with all your deck going the same way. It is quite fun to try and steer your deck in a certain way, going with different archetypes each run, though you do not have complete control about what you add to your deck. After each combat you'll be able to add 1 card from a choice of 3. Sometimes, and especially when you haven't unlocked all the cards yet, this will mean you taking a card that doesn't synergize with the other cards in your deck very well. Such is the way of roguelikes. Besides gaining cards through surviving battle, you can also buy them from a merchant encounter with gold you accumulate as you fight through the baddies. This allows greater control as there are usually a large number of cards available, so you can happily buy one that fits in well with the intentions of your deck. There are even cards that are available to all heroes, along with relics, potions, and a card removal service where you can remove a card you don't like from your deck. There is also the camp encounter where you can choose between 2 options. One to simply rest and regain 25% of your maximum hit points, or to upgrade one of your existing cards to be more powerful. This could be more damage, a cost reduction, or perhaps extra effects like adding more block. The last of the encounters is a random encounter which, as the name suggests, will be a random encounter of those already mentioned, plus a few special events where you decide what to do. This can be like selecting from foodstuff to get different buffs, or flicking through the Necronomicon for esoteric knowledge at the cost of your very life force. The baddies you'll have to fight come in different difficulties: normal, elite, and boss level nasties. Most normal combat encounters will have you fighting against fairly manageable odds, either a few weaker bad guys or a single tougher one. The elite level mobs are a different story. They can be extremely lethal if you're not prepared to handle them. I wonder perhaps, especially early on, they could be a bit too dangerous for muppets like myself. The bosses are tough ones that you'll likely want to use all your wits and any potions you've been holding on to try and win. There are lots of other things that can happen during a run that you can't really plan for that will change how you play. These can be artifacts that affect things quite differently, having you to change up your game plan, or perhaps you don't find any cards you wanted for the archetype you were trying to follow. With a lot of my runs, I started trying to build one way, like stacking poison abilities, and then proceed to not find any more poison cards. Perhaps you must have to try and build your deck to be well rounded, perhaps doing a little bit of everything instead of going for a particular strategy. But that is what I enjoy, so I'll keep on with it. Each individual run is very unique, as a host of things will happen that can blow your initial plans away. You will cycle through your deck several times in encounter, which means you will inevitably find any cards that you were looking for, and not have like your keystone card stuck at the bottom of your draw pile, not to be seen for the entirety of the game. I think perhaps I would have liked to build a deck from scratch, rather than starting with the base cards for each hero, and then adding to it, to be honest. But it isn't too bad. I play a lot of Hearthstone and enjoy deck building, so perhaps that is where I'm coming from. Overall, I think Slay the Spire is a very solid game. It is one you can play for a run for half an hour and put down, or spend several hours embarking on just one more go. I think that is a good place to be in, and the fact that you're unlocking more cards as you go means that each run does count for something, rather than feeling like a complete bust should you lose. I would have liked a few more heroes as well, but it isn't the end of the world. If you're into roguelike games and of course deck building, then I think you'll really enjoy Slay the Spire. There's a lot of challenge here, and the game loop of fighting baddies and building your deck is a compelling one. If perhaps you aren't too fussed about card games, or put off by that roguelike do or lose it all mentality, then it might be worth giving this one a miss. It won't set you back too much at full price, but if you can get it on sale, then you'll have a great bargain here. And there we are, dear viewers, another video done. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. I hope you are doing well, and I shall see you next time.